New day. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, I'm Fat Sajak, and it's gonna be noisy in here. It's just loud. That blind is moving. That's gonna drive a lot of you crazy, but I'm not gonna get up and fix it. Deal with it. I'm listening. My kids are right up front, keeping an eye on them. Outside makes sounds. You're just gonna have, it's just, you don't come here for the sound quality, correct? I'm not your sound quality kind of girl, okay? You're lucky I've mic'd this thing. Rent must be due, because I'm here to talk about Gabbie Hanna. Our Spirit Halloween's open already. Before we get into the Gabbie Hanna content, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. A lot of people have been telling me lately they didn't notice until like a hot minute ago that they had been unsubscribed. I guess YouTube's doing the thing again. Just make sure you're subscribed. Or if you haven't yet subscribed, just subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, right? It's just... Anywho, make sure you're subscribed. Like the video. If you find at any point that you are not ready to launch yourself off a third story building, the third story of a building, if this brings you little to no discomfort, feel free to go ahead and like the video. I also launched a new merch item, and it's impossible to read in the images. No matter how many times you bring them up, take a chance on it. It might be a funny shirt. As always, all the ways you can help: donate to help the people of Palestine, as well as any relevant links, irrelevant links, socially conscious links, as well as to make sure you're registered to vote. All of that is down in the description. Now let's just get into it. Enough call to action. Okay, so to be fair, like, I haven't really spoken about Gabbie Hanna too much since she made her return to YouTube. I think I've maybe made 2 videos, and I don't even remember if they were dedicated videos or if they were just... And I remember at least one was, but anyhow, I try not to talk about Gabbie too much for a few reasons. One is that I've spoken a lot about Gabbie in the past, and I stopped speaking about Gabbie in the past because I didn't feel like anything I had to say was helpful to the conversation. I genuinely felt like I was kind of like repeating the same things over and over, reiterating the same things over and over. And it was a time when Gabbie's mental health wasn't the best. This was around the time of like her series where she was putting that all out. I kind of stopped mid covering that series because I felt kind of gross about it, to be honest. I didn't feel the best. I was also like, I was surrounded by a lot of people who were very anti-Gabbie, which I was as well, and I still kind of am. But I think I have not being surrounded by that anymore, and I'm not like trying to be like, well, these motherfuckers were so anti-Gabbie that they influenced me. But like, you know, you are who you hang with, right? Like, if you're surrounded by that constant discourse, it's going to affect the way that you bring your voice. Do you hear the hummingbird? I'm sorry I didn't put the feeder out yet. But if you're sort of surrounded by that sort of discourse, it's going to affect the way that you bring conversations to the table. So basically the gist was that I've largely stopped speaking at great length about Gabbie Hanna. I feel like as commentary channels, it becomes very easy to talk about one subject because you know a lot about that subject, or you've observed a lot about that subject, or you've spoken about that subject quite a bit. And it becomes very, 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 very easy to go back and reference the things you already know. But if you see a commentary channel that's sort of laser focused on one particular creator, it's not an obsession, it's not like a hit piece, it's not harassment. It's literally because the person commenting on that situation already has a lot of information, and it becomes very easy to follow patterns. We're going to talk a lot about patterns today, okay? We're going to talk about it. Well, I'm going to talk about it. You're going to sit there and listen, or you're going to leave. Whatever. Do whatever you got to do. So it's no secret that over the course of time, Gabbie Hanna went through what appeared to be a very, very intense manic episode. During this time, she declared herself the second coming of Christ. She screamed a lot, and then she called it all performance art. Now, here's my issue. So, post-manic episode, Gabbie released, I believe, her full album. I don't know, I kind of tuned out by then. She then moved to being offline. Apparently, during this time where Gabbie was off the internet, but still kind of on the internet, apparently she found God, which, whatever. It is my understanding that she was raised in sort of a religious household. I don't know why I hold on to that as the truth, but it's just in my brain. I don't have a problem with people finding God, finding religion, whatever. Religion as a whole is not for me. I was raised Catholic, okay? I've seen it. You know, we weren't devout Catholics, Christians. We didn't do church, but, like, it was there at school, you know. A lot of fear-based concepts. So, I mean, religion is objectively not for me. Like, it's just not, it's not my bag. Don't want it, don't need it. But my atheism does not mean that I automatically think you're an idiot for being theistic. I do think it's a little weird to base your entire life around, like, a faith-based concept around a book written by some dude about some sort of, like, omnipotent, omnipresent God. However, that's my judgment of religion, not necessarily the people who follow religion. So if it's something that brings you peace, it makes you feel better about the world, it gives you a sense of community, a sense of comfort, whatever the case may be, I'm not judging you for that, okay? I just want to be very clear. Like, I know a lot of theistic people. Of different religions. And, you know, it ain't for me. But as long as you're not hurting anyone, not hurting yourself, or not trying to get me to join, fine. Go with God. When people like Gabbie Hanna specifically find God, it ends up sounding something like this.
People can compliment you all day long. You look better, you're glowing, you look so healthy and happy. And then as soon as you say, it's because of Jesus, then they say you're crazy again.
It's the Home Alone slap for me. Yeah, we've heard this from Gabbie before, only it wasn't about religion. It was about being a woman.
You know, you like to say that women are having a mental breakdown and blame any type of expression of emotions or defending themselves as being mentally incompetent.
Maybe if people saying you're crazy is a pattern in your life, you might want to consider that it has nothing to do with Jesus or being a woman. All that to say, the comment section on this particular TikTok were very telling. For example, this commenter says, if religion helps you, all the power to you, hon, but religion will always be a subjective worldview. To which Gabbie responds, there is one way, one truth, and one life, and that's the Messiah, Jesus. If you don't accept him and reject an eternal afterlife with him, that's on you. But it's not subjective just because you don't believe. Actually, it very much is subjective. Another person says, it's not the truth, you're deluded. It's absolutely subjective, Gabbie. What's true for one is untrue for another. I, for one, choose to be the best I can be so my life has something to account for. To which Gabbie says, there is objective truth. Jesus is objective truth. Not my truth, not your truth, the truth, but it's not my job to make you believe. Okay, first of all, then why are you pushing religion on people? Second of all, Jesus is not objective truth. Was Jesus a person? Sure. That's where the truth ends. Then this person said, that's on you, but you will push people further away by literally lying to them about what is objective. You are educated. You are articulate. You are a writer. You know what objective means. This commenter, I love the way that this portion of it ends, because this is how we should be speaking to each other when we disagree on things that don't, like, deeply affect each other. I understand that this is how you view this matter, but I find it hard to navigate this interaction. Just know I love you very much. That's a very nice way to end a disagreement. This person says, let's not try to force your beliefs onto others. There's not one way, one truth, and one life. Your religion / beliefs are not more right or valid than anyone else's, especially ones that predate Jesus. And Gabbie says, and this is the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard, I'm familiar that there are false gods and false religions, of course. The Bible tells us that. Okay, so here's the thing about religion. There are lots of them. I feel like this is the veneer starting to crack. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Starting with this next comment, which says, listen, before you delete this, shame on you for using religion as another attention ploy. To which Gabbie responds, every knee will bend, babes. Either you do it willingly now or he'll do it forcefully later when it's too late. It's not too late to repent today. Okay. First of all, this is why people say religion is a cult. Because a cult is typically led by someone who asks for unquestioned allegiance. Cult leaders require you to only be loyal to them. And if you are not loyal to them, there are consequences, right? I'm not saying that Christianity is a cult. I'm just saying if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it might fucking be a duck, okay? And again, it's not a judgment on people who are religious, because it does bring you some form, as long as you are not hurting anyone else or hurting yourself or trying to push it on other people, and it is something that brings your heart fulfillment and it makes you feel like a better, happier, more whole person, more power to you. Keep on keeping on. But it's this kind of attitude that I have a problem with. It's this kind of attitude that sets off that like cult mentality. There's no objective truth in religion, period. And particularly Catholic religion, Christian religion is faith-based. All of it. Your belief in God is faith-based. Your belief that Jesus turned water into wine is faith-based, right? You are reading a book written by a person, written by a man, and you're basing your beliefs on something you cannot see or tangibly touch, which makes it faith-based, which means there is no objective truth. That would be like me saying, everybody's talking about how good my hair looks. As soon as you say that your hair doesn't look good because of a curling iron, it looks good because of Santa Claus, people think you're crazy. You can't call that the truth, because it's not. It is subjective. It is your truth. It is what you believe to be the truth. And what I mean, and I think this commenter gets it when I say, I think we're starting to see the veneer crack. Because from the jump, I have sort of seen this whole Gabbie moving into a religious phase as absolutely a new personality, a new costume, a new attention-seeking route. However, this one's going to take a little longer, because religion is something that the internet can get behind. It's such a broad topic. It's such a far-reaching subject, right? Studied by so many, followed by so many, that she's going to receive a lot more praise before she receives any backlash. So if you look at her comment sections, I don't know if she's filtering them. I don't know if this is just how they are, but like the top comments are generally very positive. They're there's a few like, oh, we're so back or whatever. But like the top comments are generally pretty positive, and they're pretty God-oriented, which makes sense, right? This is who you're catering to now. Here they come. But here's the thing, and you can think I'm a bad person if you want to for thinking that Gabbie Hanna is putting on a religious act, or at least heightening how much she believes and how much she's devoting her life to Christ for views. But I'm going not by how I feel personally about Gabbie Hanna, but about the patterns that Gabbie Hanna herself has set. Let me see if I can break down what I'm about to say with an analogy that could potentially make sense. I was raised in a part of this country that has tornadoes. So any place in this country that has major weather events, you can probably relate to this. As a kid, you learn how to have tornado drills, right? And you learn how to identify tornadic weather. Now, when I was a child, it was mainly in the spring. And nowadays, it's kind of all the time. Thanks, global warming. You learn how to recognize a potentially threatening weather event. So typically nowadays it starts like early in the morning or the day before when they're like, hey, here's a weather watch. We're looking at the potential for this weather tomorrow, just so that you're aware. So in your mind, you're like, okay, I know I need to watch out for weather and plan accordingly tomorrow. Then you're watching the sky. How do the clouds look? Do they look dark? Is there a shelf cloud? Are there funnels? The sky turns green, you know, oh shit, probably going to be a tornado. Then you get a weather warning, which means that all the ingredients are there. Then you start to get some wind and weather, right? Some wind, some rain, maybe a little hail. The sirens start going off and the wind really kicks up. The rain stops, but you know, because you've been through this before, that's not the sign that everything's done, right? Sky's still green, sirens are still going off, it's still might have settled, there might not be any wind, but you know that it's not over. Then you see it, you see the tornado, it forms, you could see it touching the ground, and you're like, oh shit, at some point I should probably get off my front porch. You look at the tornado, you can see it in the distance, and you see that it doesn't look like it's moving, which, because you've been raised in a Midwest weather event state, you know that that means it's coming right for you. So it's time to head to the basement finally. Grab the dogs, grab a beer, go downstairs, wait till it's over. And when the sound of the train stops and the sirens go off and you start to hear the birds chirp, you know it's time to get out of the basement, get another beer, go outside and see what the damage is, and talk to your neighbors. That's a pattern. That's a pattern you can recognize in your life if you live in one place long enough and you recognize the weather patterns of a particular part of the country or wherever you're from. Just make it fit for your life, all right? God, I'm not a doctor. This is kind of the same as a Gabbie Hanna pattern. The beginning of the pattern is her freaking out, like with her series, like with being manic on TikTok. Then she disappears, right? She goes away for a prolonged period of time and then comes back and she's a new person. She's better than ever. She's really found herself this time, whatever the case may be. Things are going to be different. There's going to be change. Not in the way of like, I'm sorry for my past transgressions, but in a way that says like, let's time to move on and pretend they never happened. Then we move on to that thing, and then we're doing that thing, whether that's painting, whether that's writing, whether that's music, whether that's religion. We move so deeply into that it becomes her whole personality. And then that whole personality goes super, super hard on the internet. Even though this time, Gabbie said she tried to change the weather pattern and say, I'm just going to be more conscious and more aware and more scarce with my presence on the internet. And yet, not so much. And then, typically in the pattern, we see her go so hard that she goes so far the other way with it. She starts engaging with comments. She starts getting mad. And then the veneer cracks all the way. And then we start the cycle over. After we get out of the basement, grab another beer, we go outside, we talk to our neighbors, okay? So, why am I making this video? If I really don't have a problem with religion and people who practice it, despite the fact that she's pushing it on people as objective truth, and I don't want to speak about Gabbie Hanna so much, I came across a TikTok of pure hypocrisy yesterday, and it lit a fire under my ass in the weirdest way. So let's talk about it. First, let's watch the TikTok in question.
At what point do we as a people recognize and acknowledge and fight against the absolute degeneracy that is our generation? Megan, I am so disappointed in you.
I'm sure that really pierces her soul.
Because I had so much hype for you. I was riding so hard for you from before your freshman class. I was like, whoa, this girl really just rhymed onomatopoeia. Like, she is literally so skilled and talented. This woman has the potential to be the greatest of all time. The delivery, the lyrical ability, the dance performance, the just absolute natural skill that comes out of Meg Thee Stallion.
Okay. That hasn't changed. But also, what a deep, beautiful compliment coming from...
Say what you mean out loud.
Carry on, Gabs.
I had so much hope. Oh, instead she's a porn star. This is literally porn. This is hentai porn, which is animated porn. This was on the cover of Spotify, Apple Music. This was how it was promoted on Twitter.
It doesn't look like anime. But maybe I'm just not as well versed in hentai.
This is cum. This is literal cum on Meg Thee Stallion's face in full BDSM gear. And we're just like, it's cool. Like, no, this is not okay.
Let's sit with this for a second. Gabbie's issue isn't with Meg Thee Stallion's music.
Pay my tuition just to kiss me on this wet ass pussy.
It's with BDSM, get up, and come. I firmly remember. Wait. Oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, I'm sure she's got more important things to say. Let's keep going.
I've been seeing these ads for these sticky boobs, and honestly, they look amazing. I might buy me some. But in seeing all these ads, I'm seeing a lot of women's boobs, a lot of them teenagers on TikTok.
I can't verify the validity of that because I'm not going to go looking by any stretch. But if that's the case, that's weird. I'll give her that.
Like boobs, bro. Like scooping your boobs, like placing the cup, pushing your boobs up together, nipple piercing.
Nipple piercing. Like on TikTok with children. Okay, sure. Again, I'm not going to go look for the validity of that, but I'm going to take her word for it.
And it got me thinking about like sexual liberation and like women's desire to like show their bodies in public so that they're not oppressed, right?
Well, I don't know that it's so they're not oppressed. I feel like some women love the way they look and like to show off their bodies. I don't think it's necessarily directly opposing oppression as much as it is women being able to do whatever they want.
And I saw somebody comment, it was one specifically about a nipple piercing. The girl was like, am I the only person who has no shame in people seeing my nipple piercing? And the girl's like, no, I don't have shame either, but sometimes I want to cover my nipple piercing. Ooh, controversial. It's okay to feel shame. Let's bring back shame.
Yeah, I think 100% we should bring back shame. What is that? Are you James Charles now? Yeah, 100%. Shame is fine, but also having no shame is also fine.
Because here's the thing, is it's literally not all about us. It's not all about us. Like, if I want to go out and I have, like, half naked because it's about me, like, I want to feel good, like, whatever, I worked for my body, I want to show off, nobody's going to shame me into covering up. I wish more people would have shamed me into covering up.
Yeah, I do too.
And there have been a couple people who shamed me into covering up, and now I cover up more. I'm not a prude. I still wear shorts, tank tops, bodysuits, but like when it comes to how much boob am I willing to show in public, that really changed because I was like, oh, there's children.
Yeah, there always have been. And like, that's cool. Like, I'm not, like, this is a double-edged sword of a conversation because on one hand, it's nice to hear sort of an evolution of thought on how you present yourself to the world. Fine. Personally, I'm of the belief you wear what you want, you do what you want. Bodies are bodies. It is what it is. But as someone who also has children, yeah, I would appreciate it. I mean, you don't have to be modest, but like maybe don't whip out anything in their vicinity. In that same regard, there have always been children on Gabbie's channel. Like, whether she wants to admit it or not, her channel has been comprised of mostly under 18 people. And I know she'll never admit that, and then she will fight it tooth and nail to the day she dies, but that's the truth. And she had an OnlyFans at one point. And there's nothing wrong with having an OnlyFans, you do you. Everybody's got to do what they got to do. No judgment here. But like, to publicly, on a platform of millions, have your titties falling out of your clothes all the time, and posting, you know, like preview snippets of your OnlyFans, and like being naked kind of all the time for about at least a whole summer. It's kind of weird to come to that conclusion now. Let's carry on. I'm sure there's more insight.
Yep, there's children. And especially when you're on the internet, there's children. And it's like, bro, like, even though I don't have an audience of children.
You literally do and always have, but okay.
It's like walking in public half naked. right? And it's like, hey, there's children. Like, not everybody needs to see your ass crack.
Actually, it's more like walking onto a stadium stage where the stadium's full about 5 times, and then doing that, at least where Gabbie's concerned.
Not everybody needs to see the borderline of your nipple or your nipple. Like, it's okay to cover up and dress decently for the sake of other people's children.
I agree. I absolutely agree with that. I do not disagree with that point at all. I just find it a little rich coming from this mouth.
And yes, like, for the sake of other people's husbands too, right?
Get the fuck out of here. Don't care about other people's husbands.
It's like, well, if that's somebody's husband and their eyes are wandering, it's okay to just be respectful.
I'm sorry. This is where I draw the line with this point, because if I walked out of my house, tits ablazing, right, up to my throat, because I need, at this point, a push-up bra with legs of steel. If I walked out of my house looking absolutely what we would call, I guess, inappropriate, I don't have to care what anybody's husband thinks about how I look, right? Because as a woman who is an equal person to a man, I do not have to consider other people in my decision making on how I look, right? Yes, of course, it comes with nuance, because there are things like being wildly inappropriate. Like, if you're going to a 5-year-old's birthday party, probably want to put your away, right? It's situational. But I don't have to care about what some lady's husband, whether I know her or not, whether I know him or not, what he thinks about how I dress. If he can't keep his dick in his pants, that's a him problem, not a me problem. And actually it's kind of his wife's problem as well.
And that's something that I've been like learning as I'm like growing up. And it's like, this is growing up, is learning that it's okay to just be respectful and mindful of other people's space, property, relationships. And that does mean flaunting your body in front of other people's husbands. Because here's the thing, we know that people have sexual urges. We know that people have a low sense of self-control. We know that.
Right. That still doesn't make it our responsibility to keep them in check. Do you think it's appropriate that when a girl shows up to school in a tank top with spaghetti straps, that the girl has to change her clothes? Or do you think it's more appropriate that we teach young men that women are not their property and you need to keep your eyes on your own paper? Because at the end of the day, policing our clothes isn't fixing the problem, it's exacerbating it. Keeping it modest in front of Susan's husband isn't going to make him be less of a perv. It's just going to make him less of a perv at me. You're not fixing the problem. You're making it worse. You're making excuses for predatory men to prey on women. This is a what was she wearing argument, which honestly tracks when we think about Gabbie's history with women who've been victims of assault.
Jessie was looking for any moment that she possibly could so that she could get emotional on the call because she was filming it. So why do we have to make it harder for everybody else? This goes for the gym too. Like, I remember there was this video of this guy being like, girls, like, please stop dressing naked in the gym because I want to go work out and I'm not comfortable being around mostly naked women.
Well, here's the tea, sis. Men show up to the gym without their fucking shirts on. So when men put on a long sleeve and turtleneck thermal to work out, then maybe I'll be a little more considerate. It is not our job as women to make sure men don't have sexual urges and act on them. Ideally, everyone would be comfortable in a space, but women aren't showing up naked. If a woman shows up in a sports bra and workout shorts, that is workout attire. Why don't you just ask them to wear a bed sheet to a swimming pool? So you want us to police ourselves more so that men have to police themselves less, even though men are typically the perpetrators of violent crimes against women. But women are wearing clothes or less clothes than one might deem appropriate. Got it.
And everybody's like, sexist, men can't control ourselves, this is why we have to be afraid of men. No, bro, like, he's straight up telling you, like, I'm uncomfortable.
Because this is what you're wearing? Is this really, this is the argument, this is the veneer cracking. This is who she is. When people tell you who they are, believe them. Because I have no issue with the overarching theme, which is modesty, sure, fine, be modest. Fine, be modest around children, yes. As a mother, I'd appreciate that. That'd be swell. You ever seen The Naked Cowboy? You ever been to Times Square? You don't think you could explain to your child, look, a butt. I don't want the nuance of this to be lost. Obviously, I appreciate the call for a little more modesty around children, obviously. But like, as long as there is nothing else happening, a child seeing a butt or a side boob, like, is not the end of the world. It's anatomy. Now, if there's hypersexualization around it, that's a completely different conversation. But as far as men are concerned, nah. I think it's time for men to do more, not less.
Like if a woman comes into a gym completely almost naked, right? I have my little sports bra, I have my little shorts that are pulled up and they're literally in my ass crack now because that's the style, because I like the way it looks when my shorts are my ass crack.
Yeah, that sounds deeply uncomfortable, but also like, not your problem. Unless she's trying to sit on you.
And I pull them up before I squat because I want people to see my body. Like, you are being disrespectful, because personally as a woman, I do not want a man coming into my space naked with his bulge out. No, this is just what makes me feel comfortable. It's easier for me to move without all this fabric. Like, no, like, have respect for me to not put your penis in my face at the gym. Thank you so much for covering up your bulge. Like, I don't want to see your testes.
Wow, now we're thanking men for literally just covering up their dicks. The bar is truly in hell. Listen, again, I don't really disagree with the overarching point. Yeah, no, I don't want to see naked people at the gym. I think the pulling your shorts up in your ass looks devastatingly uncomfortable, and it's also gross because you're going to be sitting on machines and then you've got germs all over everything, and that's just gross. But from like a modesty standpoint, like, why are you so focused on what other people look like at the gym? That's my question. Like, why are we so laser focused on so many other people when you could just go to the gym? Because personally, when I go to the gym, which isn't often, as you can tell, but I used to be a gym rat. And when I would go to the gym, the last thing I would care about is what other people are wearing. I wouldn't even notice. I came to do my workout, focus on me and my body, and then get out. I don't really care what Jason and Chad at the smoothie bar think about the clothes that I'm wearing or any other women are wearing, because I'm not there to worry about what men think about me or their comfort. And quite frankly, men could stand to be uncomfortable.
And as women, I feel like we have to have that same type of respect for other women, for men, and for ourselves.
I don't think it's very much a respect thing, personally. Before I'm ready to tell women to dress differently at the gym or anywhere, I'm more inclined to ask men to stop murdering us or, you know, forcibly having sex with us. Maybe when all of that, we get a handle on all of that, I'll be a little more concerned with the respect I give to men.
To just be like, okay, it's okay. I don't have to show off all the time. I'm speaking to myself, right? Like, I'm such a show off. I've always loved showing off. It's my least favorite trait about myself. It's pride too, right? It's pride, it's insecurity. Like, look at me, like everything that you think is bad and you hate about me, like instead pay attention to this good thing about me. I get showing off. And that's why I'm just like sharing this part of, I guess, just a transformation where I feel differently and I see things differently.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. For you, okay? That's good change, that's good evolution. We love to see it. But like, I think the point at which we are coming from on this is a little bit, could use a little bit of work.
Where it's like, we don't have to feel like we're being attacked when people are like, cover up a little bit. And it's not even attractive. Like, that's something that like my eyes have been open to, is like when older women would be like, you know, oh my gosh, like these girls with their short shorts and like their boobs out. I'm like, I don't get it. Now that I'm like 33, I'm like, it looks so trashy to have your boobs out like that. Like,
you know what's trashy though is judging other women based on how they look though. Like, that's a little bit more trashy in my opinion. Like, you can say that something's not for you anymore without insulting the people who it is for. Because here's the thing. In your 20s, your early 20s, mid-20s, even probably sometimes up to your late 20s, and maybe even longer if you know, if that lifestyle serves you. A lot of times, at least in this country, and at least it's how it's been, I don't know how it is now. In my 20s, I was at the bar every weekend. I was out with friends all the time, out partying, out having a good time, living it up in my 20s, and dressed like a total. And that's just what we did, right? And as you evolve into your 30s, you sort of, and I can speak from my experience and some of my friends' experiences, obviously this isn't a universal experience, but you sort of lose the luster for getting all dolled up, for putting on makeup, for putting on 3 push-up bras, for, you know, whatever the case may be, whatever your tips and tricks are to look like the pick of the litter that night. That's just evolving as an adult, right? I think, at least in my opinion. So it's good that she recognizes it. It's good that she sees it, but she is coming at this from the wrong perspective. And in my opinion, she's coming at it from the wrong perspective on purpose, because it's easy to say, I had a realization. I don't have to show my tits all the time. I found the value in a little more modesty, and make a video about that. But then to include like people's husbands and the ways in which our modesty can affect, you know, my best friend's husband. You know, he couldn't possibly, you know, be held responsible for staring at my tits because I put them out there. You know, as if there aren't actually respectful men who don't ogle their friends' girlfriends, you know what I mean? I think taking it to there was purposeful. I think taking it to there was meant to sort of inflame people. I don't know if it works because I haven't been to the comment section on this video in particular, but I genuinely think that that was, in my opinion, meant to sort of inflame the people who are not on board with religious gabbie just yet.
You can have just like natural kind of like resting boobs. Like, I'm not saying wear up to here, like go ahead, wear your low top, like wear whatever. But like, if you're wearing that low top, do you need to take your boob, stuff it, fill it, and push it? I'm not trying to shame or hate anybody.
You literally just spent this entire video shaming women for dressing like whores. You literally just did that. You literally just said,
it looks so trashy to have your boobs out like that.
Like, literally shaming them.
I just like felt like sharing that because I've seen so many boobs on my timeline this morning, and like I'm just imagining being like a 14-year-old boy, like scrolling on TikTok, and like I'm trying to get to school, and I'm like, I got a problem now because I'm like completely like sexually aroused as a teenage boy going, like, this sounds so crazy, but seriously, like, who's watching your content?
Maybe other women, you know, especially if it's for sticky boobs and like whatever things that women wear, things that people with breasts wear. Maybe it's for them. Maybe the intention isn't to be sexual. To say that an ad, and this is, I'm basing this exclusively off of how she just explained it, that like an ad for a product that involves breasts has to be inherently sexual. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it isn't. Maybe your brain, like a lot of our brains, is trained to find the hypersexuality in things that are simply anatomy. One thing I do know though is it's good that Gabbie is finally looking out for the kids.
You're twerking on Vine? You realize that there's kids on this app? Be considerate.
I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map.
So, like I said, I feel like a lot of this is the veneer starting to crack. I feel like a lot of this like God speak is about to come crumbling down. I don't think it'll ever go away, but here are my predictions about what is to come. Because unless something like this video that we just watched, actually does inflame people who are either have a past of not liking Gabbie or who believe that women should be able to wear what they want. Unless this actually inflames people, she's gonna need to cling on to some kind of like religious controversy or something to actually grasp some kind of viral moment, because that's what she does, right? That's always her MO, is to find that viral moment. She said it herself. It's so easy to go viral. I pretend to be crazy and it goes viral, and it's like, it's the pattern, right? That's the we're looking at the weather warning. If that's what comes next, it's going to take a while because, again, the religious folks are in her corner going like, yes, Gabbie, yes, yes, Jesus. Or alternative number 2, maybe she finds a new religion and she starts religion hopping. And my favorite guess, which I think is the most likely and could be the most fun, is that Gabbie becomes possessed by a demon. Remember, Gabbie used to talk all the time about how she was psychic and she used to have these really vivid, horrific dreams and all these paranormal experiences. Those sort of dropped off, right? We haven't heard about any of those in a really long time. Anyway, all that to say, follow the patterns. Right now there's a tornado watch out, so you can stay on your front porch with your beer. But if it turns into a warning, you might want to think about heading to the basement. And remember, if it looks like it's doing nothing, it's coming right for you. Wow, what a nice metaphor. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I'm gonna go clean my house. Stay tuned for the episode where I become a Raw Beauty Christie parody account. That's coming next. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's all. Subscribe, I guess.
It looks so trashy to have your boobs out like that. Look.
Shut the fuck up!
You're fucking lucky. Setting me into motion for spooky season a little too soon, and that's just fine with me. Jesus. So, what was I saying? What the fuck was that? I'm gonna get Sally Struthers to do a commercial. That's an old reference.